Hello, everyone. Welcome to another pre-show.
Yes, indeed. And oh, heavens, our patrons looked like they were on a bender at the inauguration. Look how exhausted they're all looking. And I swear they're wearing the same clothes they wore last week.
I don't blame
Golly,
them.
guys.
Yeah,
What's that?
I don't blame
Yeah.
them.
I apparently they was a real blowout. I wished I'd made it. I was invited, of course, but other previous engagements here in Austria, I couldn't go.
Mm.
But if I had, I would have seen you guys at the hospitality suite at the Watergate Hotel. Yes, I would have been there, or at the Willard. I'd have hung out with you at the Round Robin Bar. We'd have painted the town. Of course, I think those places were closed during the inauguration. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, you're here now, and we're all together once again.
Yes. All right. Question from Aaron. Dear Mr. Coulombe, and a knowing nod to the dutiful Don, I'm writing to you once again in my role as the editor of Hush Hush magazine, as I wonder
Sid Hutchins. I know this guy. All right.
if you could comment on two stories about Tumblr House's recent practices that will appear in our spring 2021 edition.
I wouldn't advise that you do so, boss. I don't think you should. I mean, I want to hear him out, but I don't think you should respond.
No, it's okay. I mean, we're gonna have a rendezvous at the Victory Hotel, and we'll just have a nice cup of coffee and we'll chat about it. You know.
Sounds good to me. All right.
Yeah.
Let him rip.
Story one: that Tumblr House now has an official shoot to kill policy toward rioters around the tower, based on Don Vincenzo's statement to his top triggerman, Tyrone, that quote, "If they're in the morgue, they can't complain to the DA." End quote. Story 2. In the recent U.S. stimulus bill, there were two interesting pieces of pork barrel. The first was $1.2 million for the funding of guinea pig rearing farms, and the second was $1.3 billion for the construction of two Rococo train stations and rail line that happened to go from the tower to Tumblr House's guinea pig racetrack and fighting ring. It has been suggested that these additions to the stimulus bill were brought about after a certain Democratic senator had a meeting with Don Vinny. At said meeting, the enterprising young legitimate businessman showed the senator a hardcore SSPX video where the senator was shown attending a Latin mass. The video in question is said to have been acquired by Mr. Franchini's associate, Mr. Anthony Stein, aka Tony the Shades, of the Oklahoma media outlet, Return to Tradition. After viewing the video kindly provided by Mr. Stein, the senator became wholeheartedly convinced of Don Vinny's proposals and added them to the bill. Your comments will be gratefully accepted, though not necessarily printed. Wow.
All right. Well, firstly, all I can say is what I told the committee in Washington when I was asked about this in the wake of the most recent impeachment of Mr. Trump. I do not have any recollection of the events as described, and to the degree that I do, I take the Fifth Amendment, my constitutional rights, in order to avoid incriminating myself. I have no further statement at this time, and I trust that the press will respect my privacy and that of my family during this difficult period.
Yeah. It is a brilliant blackmail idea, though, to catch someone attending an SSPX mass. I mean, that's just political suicide.
Especially today, yeah.
You know?
And I don't want the hypothetical senator in question to feel at all threatened, because you'll notice that both our questioner, your esteemed self, and me have made a point of not mentioning either his name or the flyover state he comes from.
Yes.
And the other thing too is that even if his nickname amongst his closest friends is Billy, it doesn't. There are a lot of senators for whom that may be the case.
Right. Okay.
It could even be AOC.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is.
Okay. Good. What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
I'm just buying people's silence, in a sense.
Yeah.
I think that look, right now, this great nation of Oz is undergoing a period of political readjustment. We're entering a whole new era. A new age has dawned. The 4 years of darkness and horror are giving way to 4 more years of darkness and horror.
Well, I
What?
don't. Okay.
No, it's just a question of who's darkness and who's horror. I mean, look at it this way. If you look at our new the old guy, Uncle Joe, and you look at his running mate, what can I say but that we've finally become utterly self-realized? If you weren't New Age before, this is a good time to cash in.
That's a great quote. All right.
Feel free to use it.
All right. Question from Nicholas. Hello, gentlemen. In previous episodes, we have learned about how Charles enjoys the wonderful hobby of pipe and cigar smoking, his favorite tobaccos and such. Yet he has still not shown us any of his pipes, to my knowledge. Though I also understand in a previous episode he stated he does not bring any to Austria with him. So that issue of not viewing any will need to be solved another day.
True.
This question is instead focused on Mr. Vincent, the unquestioned Franchini. Do you, most dutiful Don, enjoy the lovely tobacco hobby? Do you have any favorite tobaccos to share with us? And any favorite pipes to show us? If you have yet to dabble in the hobby at all, and if you wish to try, I think an excellent idea for a unique video would be for Charles, whenever home, to teach you about it and how to properly smoke a pipe and show you the various tobaccos you could enjoy. If you
that would actually be. Sorry.
If you do in fact enjoy the hobby and have hidden this information from us, I think nonetheless it would be a fun alteration of the off-the-menu formula to film one when Charles has returned to the United States, while also enjoying pipes. This is the kind of unique and exciting content we as loyal and generous patrons are desiring. While also on the topic of exciting content, we will also need a video of Charles's famed guinea pig fighting that you, most generous book dealer, are so fond of.
Well,
what
would you say about your tobacco experience?
Yeah, I don't partake anymore. It's been a long time. It's been like 12 years or so. Like since 2008. I've never smoked a pipe, never smoked cigarettes, never smoked cigars, but I did smoke hookah.
A hookah? So basically you were betraying our country.
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't smoke it to smoke it. Like, I mean, I didn't smoke it in and of itself because I wanted to smoke hookah. Like, that's not something you do alone. You do it in a social setting. And I think that's what made it so attractive is, instead of like a group of friends, having to go out to the restaurant and pay a lot of money to have a conversation or something, you could just chill out in your backyard or wherever and gather around a hookah and smoke hookah. And so that's what we did. Yeah.
I remember that very well. Around the same time we went to the Bahuka.
That's right.
We went to the Bahuka, which did not have hookahs. There were no hookahs at the Bahuka.
No, they weren't. It didn't make any sense.
It was a tiki bar.
Yeah.
That restaurant. Alas, one with the ages, but it was immortalized in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
That's right, yeah.
And it also was one of the first venues for the great emo band Green Day.
Okay, question from Anita. I would
Okay.
I would like to hear Charles's take on the history of the California aqueduct system and Southern California's struggle for water.
Well, Southern California, as you know, is functionally speaking pretty arid. It's almost a desert, not quite, but almost. And there are many, 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 many more, many more people living in SoCal than the place could actually support, given its small amount of water. And the only reason why it's able to support so many is because of the famous California aqueduct system, which brings water from a number of places, particularly the Colorado River, and up north from what was once called Owens Lake, south of Lake Tahoe. And those are the two major sources of Southern California's water supply. And that water comes over many, 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 many miles. Now, the California aqueduct system was the brainchild of a Mr. Mulholland, after whom the famous Mulholland Drive is named. And Mulholland, he did all the research. He pioneered the thing. He went up to Owens Lake, which was huge. It was like Tahoe. There were ferries that went across it and things like that. Well, now it's the Owens Valley. And it's the Owens Valley because the water gets sucked down and comes to LA. And we drink it. This happened in the teens and 20s. There was, unfortunately, a dam failure in Van Nuys back in I forget if it was the 20s or the 30s, whatever it was. The Van Owen Dam broke, and a lot of people were killed. And Mulholland blamed himself. So he became something of a recluse. And then he died. But at any rate, the California aqueduct system is Mr. Mulholland's enduring legacy in Southern California. And without it, none of the growth that created the Southern California we know, the LA we know, could have happened. It was the arrival of that water, which the city of Los Angeles had control of, that led the San Fernando Valley, town by town, because there have been a lot of little towns. The prospect of getting their hands on that water is what led them to vote to be incorporated into the growing octopus that was LA. Because all of a sudden, what had been at the best of times just ranch land could now support agriculture and then eventually homes. So the San Fernando Valley went from being primarily ranch land to being oranges and olives, things like that, and then eventually homes. Then it became the San Fernando Valley we all know and love today.
Believe it or not, Anita, I was actually in this industry 15 years ago or so I know a fair amount of this. I worked for a engineer who was a water consultant, dealt with a lot of water resources and stuff like that. California is actually very unique. In addition to being arid, the way it's structured with the mountains and such is Southern California has a problem with flash floods. So our infrastructure is designed accordingly. We have washes, right? These things, I don't think they're typical around the United States, but we have these washes, which are basically giant concrete rivers, I guess. Kind of like the LA River, if for people who've seen the LA River, like that. And that's designed to handle flash floods. So the water, is designed to basically all go out to the ocean. But
the reason for that, of course, is that despite being arid, LA used to suffer badly from those floods.
Yeah,
every now and then.
Yeah. Back in the turn of the century, I believe there was some horrific stuff going on.
The major The major problem with our setup, though, is that we have no cisterns. We're not able to benefit very much from the rain that falls in Southern California.
Yeah, exactly. The term for that is stormwater capture.
Mm.
So all the water goes out to the sea, and all the water that's collected on the streets, it's all runoff. It all goes in the sewers, goes in the system, goes out to sea. So that's been a challenge for a long time. I don't know where we're at. I think we're starting to do better in terms of that. I know. I think it's in Washington. They have porous concrete, and so that allows the water to not run off, to seep down, get into the groundwater, or become groundwater, percolate down and become groundwater. Groundwater is very valuable because it's very clean. And so yeah, so that's another problem with Southern California is we don't have any, we're not collecting any as much groundwater now because of all the concrete, because it doesn't settle down. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges. We were really nervous about this back in like 2007. I mean, we were calling it a crisis back then. um
No, it was that we had a 7-year drought,
yeah,
and it was really, really bad back then.
but
Uh,
I have to say too, that this area was actually one of, it made me hopeful and proud of our society in general, because we've developed regulations, saying like, oh, you can only water your lawn on Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that. And like basically we had to cut and manage our water collectively. And and we did, we cut it by like 30%. So it's cool. I don't know, to me it's cool to see that people can actually adjust and adapt and do what's called for. you know
well, they can apparently as long as they're not in government,
I know.
because the government really should be the state should be really doing something about water storage and cisterns and so on, and expanding the supply, and they're not. But
Yeah,
we get most of our supply, as I say, from the Colorado River and from the Owens Valley.
yeah, that's the thing. More specifically, it's the snowpack in Colorado that determines our water level in California.
Yeah, and one of the funny things, you may remember this, you may be too young, but when I first moved to Monrovia, the water was always cloudy, the water from the tap.
Okay.
I mean, it always looked like milk,
Ugh.
and you let it sit. And as you let it sit,
It would clear up.
uh,
Yeah, we
it
had
would
that
clear
too.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was a bit of Monrovia in everything you drank because it was really hard water and a lot of mineral content. And
Yeah.
so you would if you didn't wash your pots carefully, there'd be this white gritty uh, thing on it.
We still get that,
That's
honestly.
Colorado River water.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Owens Valley water doesn't have that, but
Well,
Colorado River water does.
that's hard. Yeah, hard water does that. Well, hard water with minerals too. But yeah, it freaked me out when I went to Pennsylvania and they had soft water over there. I'm like, this is weird. I don't like this soft water.
No, it's not mineral rich like the
It,
water back home.
it feels weird. Everything about it is different. It felt weird.
That's right. You didn't have any strontium 90 in the water like we have.
Yeah.
Glow in the dark.
So, all right.
All right.
All right. So now time for three questions from Diego, which we couldn't get to last episode. We'll get to them here.
Okay.
First question, something. So he was talking about, and we were talking about C.S. Lewis a lot. So we're going to continue with that. So he says, something caught my eye in Lewis's writings: the caricature of Lilith, or Adam's first wife. I don't
Oh,
recall her from Genesis, and I've seen her name before, but I'm at a loss for words. I sincerely implore Charles to talk about this character.
Well, Lilith is a demon, a demoness, if you like, from Jewish folklore. And
Yeah, isn't she like the demon of lesbians or something?
well, some lesbians claim that affiliation for her. I don't know if she'd go along with it.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, what is she
They
the
call
demon
themselves
of?
daughters of Lilith.
Okay. What? How does she?
Because she's a
What is she?
strong female figure,
What does she identify as?
as a demoness.
Yeah, but I mean, that isn't there some sort of fiefdom?
I'm sure there is, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
And of course the reference to Lilith as Adam's first wife comes from the White Witch,
What is
who
that?
the White Witch of Narnia. You know, when the kids first come to Narnia in the first book,
I see. Got it.
Narnia is ruled by this the evil White Witch,
Right.
and uh, she takes over, uh, and there are no humans at that point in Narnia, and she says, if any show up, I want them brought to me. She claims to be human, but it's implied that she isn't, and they say, well, she's really she's really not related to Adam at all, but she's the daughter of his first wife, Lilith. Well, that was perhaps a bit of a joke, because in The Magician's Nephew, her origin is revealed, and she's not the daughter of Lilith, but the last queen of a parallel world, who, through various spoilers I won't give you, found herself in Narnia.
Okay. All right. With reference to the Gospels, it has been said that each reflect the personality of their respective authors. For example, Matthew was a tax collector before meeting Christ, so his accounts were more descriptive. John was very imaginative, and so his was more prophetic. Luke was very generous with the Blessed Virgin and is known as Mary's evangelist, which leaves Mark. I'm sorry, Venetians. And so, my question is what he and subsequently the other apostles were known for.
Well, I can't tell you all of them, but with Mark, he was known as St. Peter's secretary, and as a result, the Gospel of Mark is often called Peter's Gospel. St. Thomas, of course, was known for going to India. St. James the Great for Spain, and we know him as Santiago Matamoros, St. James the Moor Killer. St. St. James the Less was the first Bishop of Jerusalem. St. Peter, of course, went to Rome and was the first Pope. St. Andrew, oddly enough, we know as the patron of Scotland, the patron of Russia, the patron of Constantinople. So that's St. Andrew's big deal. Let me see, what else?
You covered both the James?
Yeah.
Okay.
St. James the Great went to Spain, and he's known as Santiago Matamoros. He's the great patron of Spain, the great chief of Spain. Let me think. What else can I tell you? Who else do
Bartholomew?
I know? There's a tradition that Bartholomew went to Persia. Philip went to Asia Minor, and there found his relics. St. Jude, of course, is known as the patron of impossible cases. St. Simon the Zealot is always bracketed with St. Jude. They've even got a joint feast day, St. Simon and Jude.
Philip.
I mentioned him.
Philip, did you? Okay.
Yeah. And of course, he's also known, although it was the deacon Philip that dealt with the Ethiopian eunuch.
And Matthias?
Matthias is best known as the replacement for Judas.
Hmm.
And also he's held to have evangelized part of Germany. And I've been to his shrine in Trier, Germany. So I think have we got them all? Is that all 12?
I think so.
All right. Great.
Okay. Right. Can Charles go over the weirdest and oddest alliances in Europe since the time of Christ? For example, France allying with the Ottomans, or France allying with the Protestants, or really any alliance France finds herself in, among others.
Well, France and the United States against Britain.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, well, all right. France, Spain, and the Netherlands, and the United States against Britain. How's that?
Okay.
Let me see. Prussia, Germany, Austria, and Russia as the Three Kaisers League in the 19th century. The Pope and the Byzantine Emperor against the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa.
I'm too scared to ask why, because I feel like that's going to turn into a 30-minute answer.
No.
Okay, a 20-minute answer.
No.
Okay. I'm still too scared because I don't believe you.
No, it's very simple. The Barbarossa had a big fight with the Pope. The Pope looked for help from the Byzantine Emperor.
A fight over what?
Oh, stuff, investitures, and so
on. Okay. Good enough.
So you see how you are?
I know. Well, you made me this way.
Don't you? I made you. You're the boss man. I got no control, kid. You're so suspicious. You know, really you are. It reminds me very much of Mrs. Malloy's cat.
Okay.
Mrs. Malloy lived next to us. Well, not next to us, but the building next door when we lived in the Criswell building. And Mrs. Malloy was a very, very old lady. She was 88. And this was 1968. So she must have been born in 18. When would she have been born? 1880, I guess. Yeah. So she was kind of up there age-wise. And she had come west in Canada. She was Canadian. She'd come west from the Maritimes to Western Canada, literally in a covered wagon, with just behind the Mounties. So she married Mr. Malloy, and they came down to Hollywood. And he died, and she was left a widow and moved into the apartment we know her in. And she had a cat. And the cat liked to catch mice. Now, it so happened at the time of our story, there was a what do you call it? A traffic island on the middle, not of Selma Avenue, but of Castile Place, and it had palm trees. Well, the city fathers, in their wisdom, decided they would get rid of it, so you just had the plain street, and they did. What they didn't realize was that would lead to an inundation of all the neighboring homes and apartments with palm rats who lived in the palm trees, and that's what happened. So Mrs. Malloy's cat was very old, and it literally it went wild chasing these things and had a heart attack and died.
So how did we get to that cat?
Get to what?
You compared something to that cat.
Yeah, no, I was reminded of Mrs. Malloy's cat.
How?
I don't recall.
Because I'm suspicious?
Yes, that was it.
How does that remind you of Mrs. Malloy's cat?
Well, if Mrs. Malloy's cat had left the palm rats alone, she would have lived Lord knows how long. But she couldn't help herself. She was a cat, so she had to go chasing them. And what happened? She had a heart attack.
What is this, some sort of veiled threat?
No, I'm just saying you shouldn't overexert yourself. They'll end up like Mrs. Malloy's cat.
Do you know who you're talking to?
I do. And I'm telling you, I'm not talking about veiled threats. I'm talking about pure health. I'm advising you to watch after your health and not overexert yourself. I give you a little friendly advice to rest up and relax, and you take it as a threat. See, it's this kind of paranoia that will lead you to some sort of mishap, not unlike Mrs. Malloy's cat.
Yeah, it would be a shame if something bad would happen to me.
Exactly. Who would pay me? Plus, Mrs. Malloy's cat was never ever known to go after guinea pigs.
Okay, now you watch yourself, Charles.
What are you talking about? The funny thing is, I don't even remember the name of the cat. I remember what it looked like, but I don't remember the cat's name.
Tread lightly. That's what I'm gonna say.
Or what? You'll take Mrs. Malloy's cat. Too late. Things long gone. It's gone to kitty heaven. Okay. And I'll tell you something else. Mrs. Malloy was very upset when her cat died.
I'm sure.
Well, she was very old, and we were really the only people who really talked to her that much.
Okay, so as exciting as this segment is, that's the end of the pre-show.
Wait a minute.
What?
Is this the first time I've ever told you the story of Mrs. Malloy's cat?
I don't know. It's not very memorable. Maybe you told it to me 50 times.
I think it's an exciting story.
What, some old cat chasing rats?
Lots of rats, not just one. If it had only been one, the poor thing would have survived. But see, when they knocked down the island, all the palm trees, these things inundated us. I mean, they were all over the place.
Okay.
So let that be a lesson to you. Never knock down palm trees unless you've cleared the rats out first.
Very good, Charles. Very good.
You thought there wasn't a moral to that story, but there was, and I just told you. Wait a minute. I do remember the cat's name.
What's the cat's name?
Barbarossa.
Oh, so that's why. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
See? And you thought it was just a pointless, senile rambling, didn't you?
No.
Yes. Go ahead. You can tell me. We're friends. You thought it was pointless, senile rambling.
I would never say that to you out loud.
Well, that's comfort.
All right, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed the pre-show. Stay tuned for the full episode.
Do, and don't, next time you guys go to an inauguration, try to get in before 4 a.m., please. You'll feel better. Oh, wait a minute. One thing I do have to mention. Before we reconvene, next Thursday is the Feast of Blessed Charlemagne. We'll be repeating this on the real show, but, And then Sunday is the 30th, I guess, of January, and it is the anniversary of the murder of Charles I by Oliver Cromwell. Just so you'll know. See you shortly.